I have one question about the parent.
Yes. One question about the parent. Go ahead.
Is there ever a neutral parent, or is it always a critical parent
Is there
or a
al-
nurturing parent?
is there ever a neutral parent? No, there's not a neutral parent.
Okay.
Yeah, ideally, yeah. Good question. The answer is no. Yeah. Anytime we're nurturing or telling someone what to do, you're in a parent ego state. Anytime.
Okay.
If it's neutral, if it's informational, that's adult.
Okay, what's the difference between telling somebody what to do and informational?
That's a great question. David, where could I buy a good steak? If I were you, I'd buy a steak, da da da. Or here are 3 options. That's adult. If I say, you need to go buy it at Dillon's, that's parent.
Oh, giving them an order.
Correct. Whenever it's in the imperatival mood in the verb of English, I'm a parent right away.
So why wouldn't that have been parent if you said if I were you?
That's adult.
Instead of just saying Alvin's is a good place to eat. Because you're telling them, if I were you, I would go here. I would think that would be more of I'm telling you what to do.
Oh.
He's giving his opinion to what would.
Just give an opinion. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
more open.
If I tell you what to do, as soon as I make imperative, yeah, I would go is not in the imperative sense of the verb. So anytime I tell someone, it's parent. I think of nurturing is consoling, encouraging, comforting. I'm sorry you feel that way, validating.
A little bit.
Enabling can be that way if a nurturing parent stays in the script where they don't want the child to suffer negative consequences or negative feelings. They can enable the problem by rescuing from negative consequences. Babying them. Well, it's the alcoholic, I'll clean up the puke. I'll take them, I'll drive them home. That's enabling.
Yeah, I'll go bail him out.
I'll bail them out of jail. Now, I'm talking about one time, but if there's a pattern of that, you're enabling them.
We can't really fix that.
That's right. We can't fix, so how do we deal with this in everyday life? That's good. Good leadway here in a second. But tonight, we're going to talk about how to use it in communication. That's tonight. So far, I've been talking about just what the theory's about and how do we work on the inside. And so that's why I was trying to help us last week say it's not healthy to have a critical parent in our mind all the time. Those negative, you're not good enough, you're this, do this all the time. That's not healthy all the time. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes a critical parent tells us, get up, don't give up, don't give up. That's critical parent, but that's the good. But typically, most people's critical parent isn't there to make them better. It's to condescend them. It's to judge them. When it comes to other people, remember our goal is not, you didn't say this, I'm just reminded, if you came to the boundaries class, and I don't think I did, our goal is not to change the other person or fix them or do anything for them or to them, because we're not responsible for that. That's their business. Our responsibility is what we do. And so one of the major impacts of transaction analysis and communication is allowing us to control what it is we say and how we respond and what we do. But you're right, most people I've ever met don't have any clue that they're doing what they're doing. And I'm going to give you real good tips of how to deal with critical parents, how to deal with children and so forth as we move along. Good question.
I think some of this just make me more aware of situations where I would just be wasting my time.
Makes you more aware of situations where you're wasting your time.
And protect myself. At least that's what I would.
And how to protect yourself.
So
Absolutely.
but
And that's for you, right? That's for you. So I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to put myself in danger.
or just think, kind of remind myself what I am not in control.
What I'm not in control of? Absolutely. Completely agree. Completely agree. But before we talk about other people too much, I want to make sure I give you, if there's any other question or comments, if I can clarify or repeat anything at all from this material. Okay? Well, then a real quick review. So you have the parent and split, there's no neutral. It's the critical or the nurturing, CP, NP. And these aren't the best. Critical and nurturing. And critical parent. The parent in general is what we've been taught. They used to call them tapes. Call them whatever you want now, but they're old tapes that we replay because we learned them typically in childhood from some parental figure. And the critical is telling someone what to do. Nurturing is nurturing. It's encouraging, comforting. And you might say these things out of love. If I said, Scott, get down, someone's shooting a gun, or don't walk in there. I'm being a critical parent, but I'm doing it to help you. So critical parent is not always bad. I'm just saying it is in the critical parent ego state. Nurturing is different. That's the comforting and so forth. And when you say in a script, that's a constant pattern of that, that's really unhealthy. That doesn't help you in life. You're the person, you're a pessimist, you're negative, you're a nag, you're critical, you're captious. That's the critical parent. The nurturing parent script is your enabler, you're a rescuer, and that's not healthy either. Then we have the adult. That's the purely neutral information sake. There are 4 things I would tell you, or whatever it is, or what do you think the best carburetor fixer is? I have 3 guys I like. Boom, boom, boom. That's just adult. You're just telling information. That's all. Then you have the child, and I'll put it in general, but you have the adaptive and the reactive in general. The reactive is the one who's everything feeling. Fear, pain, joy, blah, on and on and on. It's all feelings. Again, just picture a child, which is easy for Chelsea, having 2 little kids, and mine too. My daughter, she's either singing a song, dancing, or crying, or there's a thrill, it's a constant feeling. And that's what's inside of us. Either we're letting the child come out to play, or to cry, or to be afraid, or we're stuffing it, just like the adult. That's why I encouraged us last week to let the happy child come out. The adaptive child, the one that wants to rebel or is shameful, guilty, whatever, he or she, depending on your gender, needs attention, but they don't get all the attention. If they do, they play a script. Remember, those scripts are the clown who's always playing, the little professor, or that frog or the black sheep. Okay. Anything else? Gonna move on. Did any of you work at all on being more childlike last week? Any done to work at it? Good for you. So, child comes out. Good. Done to work at it. Good. Nobody? All right. Well, good. I'm glad you don't have to work at it. Seriously, that's very good. I tell you what, I have really allowed my children to help me to be more in that state. I haven't told them that, but I will when they get older. I'll say, you really helped me be more like a child. My mom, who went back to undergraduate when she was 40 years old, which is called a non-traditional student. She was an undergrad master's and finished when she was, I don't know how old she was, 46, 7, 8. But she used to say all the time how those kids sure make her younger, and how she got so tired of being around adults now because in the business world, she goes, it's all serious and sad and whatever. She goes, I couldn't stand it. Once I had a taste back of what it was like to laugh and play and, get excited about things, she goes, I just couldn't stand it. I still remember that many times she used to say it. She goes, it really changed her. In this vocabulary, we'd say they allowed her to get into her child ego state more, and she missed doing that. Okay, bottom page 2. When we study how people talk to one another, or communicate, email, text, it doesn't matter. When they're communicating, give and take, we call that a transaction in transactional analysis. So anytime a communication happens, you are communicating from a particular ego state, and you're receiving it, and they can change very quickly. We call it complementary. You see the chart here when it's one-to-one. So let's say, for example, I speak as an adult, and then you receive it as an adult. I say, should I buy toothpaste at the store? You say, yes, we're out. That's the adult to adult. That's adult. That's complementary. If a complementary person says from a child to a parent. Now remember, I want this to try to sink in for a second. Whatever ego state you start in, it doesn't matter that you're conscious of this. That doesn't matter. Because in the ego state, that is your center of consciousness. Whenever you speak from that ego state, you are naturally trying to speak to the complementary role. Adults always want to talk to adults. So when I say something as an adult, I'm expecting you to hear it as an adult. If I say something as a parent, what's the complementary natural role of a parent? Talking to a child, always. Parents never talk to adults. Ever. Children only talk to parents. So they only talk to children. Children only talk to parents. Adult only talk to adults. That's the way it's supposed to. That's what we're expecting. That's what we're expecting. That's complementary. So if I talk to you and say, should I buy blank? And you say, yes, we're out. That's complementary. If you look at the top of page 3, here's another example, just complementary. Did you brush your teeth after breakfast like I told you? No, and I'm not going to. Where did it start?
Started as parents.
Parent, because I told you to, right? It's imperative. I told you what to do. No, and I'm not going to.
Oh.
That's actually complementary because you spoke down to a person like they're a child, and they responded just like a child. It's complementary. That's exactly what was, quote unquote, supposed to happen. That doesn't mean the parent liked it, but that's exactly what was, you talked down to the person as a child. When it gets crossed is when there's a transactional response is addressed to an ego state different from the one which started the stimulus. So the adult starts out, how's it coming on that report? But the person responds, why are you always bothering me about the report? You see what happened? Why are you always bothering me? You respond as a child to a parent. And that's really important, especially when it comes to couples counseling, because I see this all the time. Crossed transactions are important because they disrupt communication. In the business place, at church, at home, it does not matter. At the grocery store, communication can continue between ego states as long as transactions are parallel. Adult to adult, I said parent to parent, child to parent, and so forth. Parent to parent depends on which ego, nurturing to critical. Sorry, I should have said that kind of stuff. It can be nurturing parent to critical, but typically it's not. The rule is whenever a disruption of communication occurs, a cross-transaction caused it, and that's a big deal. And this is where so much communication gets broken down. Let's say, for example, Elaine's driving home. She's driving home and she calls me. She says, had a bad day at work and I am so stressed out. Bad day at work. So she talks to me. What ego state is she talking to me from? Yeah, maybe she's kind of crying. She's so tired. So if she said I had a bad day at work, that's adult. If she says I'm so sad right now, or she's sniffing, crying, and it's just been awful, and I need hugs. Okay. She's being from a child state, and I need hugs. I'm so sorry. She's vulnerable. She's sad. Well, she's not talking. She's expecting, just because in the ego state, to hear back from what? She's great at a parent, but what parent do you think? When she's sad and vulnerable, she wants to hear from the nurturing parent. That's what she expects to get back. The transaction she wants to hear in return is from my nurturing parent state. So something like what? I'm so sorry, baby. You don't deserve that. That boss is horrible. You can make it. I'll hug you when I get home. Let's eat a lot of chocolate. Whatever. She wants nurturing parent in response. That would be complimentary. And she go, because that's what she wanted. But she goes, let's go back and let's try another one. Because this is where so many arguments take place. Honey, I had a bad day at work. This is horrible. She's sniffling. Man, I really need some hugs, and I don't feel like making dinner. I want to go out to eat and eat something special. And then I respond, you really shouldn't complain all the time. You don't know how bad my day was. You need to suck it up and grow up. Now, I'm still responding as a parent, but which one? Critical parent. How well do you think she wants to receive that news? That transaction, there you go, Vanna, stuck her tongue out. It's horrible. That's exactly what happens when I counsel people and they have parents and this is called a discount. We'll talk about that in a second. But that's a transaction she didn't want. What if I respond this way? She goes, honey, same thing. Elaine said, I had a hard day at work and I need to get hugs and sniffs and whatever. And I go, did you know there's all kinds of books and treatment on how to process your pain in life? See, I didn't tell her what to do. I didn't try to nurture her either. I just gave her facts. Does she think she likes that? No, she doesn't. She's going to try again. I didn't want that right now. I want you to reach out to me and tell me you love me so much. That's what I want. You shouldn't tell me what to do all the time. I can say how I want to say it. Critical parent. She's going to try a third time. You really hurt my feelings. Why are you talking to me like this way? You're the one who started the whole. You're the one who started the whole thing. You're the one who started the whole thing. Why don't you care about me? Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I was irritable. I didn't mean to. Well, it really hurt my feelings. Well, next time you need to listen to me and address my needs first. You shouldn't tell me what to do. And as these charts go, this is what happens in one conversation. I've had couples mimic it. Give me a breakdown of an argument. And I can just see every transaction that's been cross. At work, Organizations can do this. Groups can do this. Trump versus Clinton, whatever. I mean, whole groups do this over and over and over. So it is overwhelmingly useful to analyze and think about it, how, of course, we can be part of the problem. But the first step is to analyze and be sure of, as much as we can, how we are communicating. That is, what ego state are you coming from when you talk to that person? If I'm coming home and I'm real tired or I'm stressed out or whatever, let's say this is real life. I'm coming home, it's been a bad day or it's been emotional, whatever, and I'm a little more on edge or I'm anxious, I'm consciously aware that I know that I'm in a child state. I feel more vulnerable. I feel more on edge. I might cry easier. I might not want to be around a lot of people. I know going in my truck heading home, I'm in my child ego state. I know that. I mean, I'm being real here. I've done it many times. I'm thinking, if I get home, and I know if the kids are arguing, or there's a loud noise and a bunch of nonsense, I know I'm going to be extra vulnerable to being irritable or upset or easily upset because what? I'm in a child ego state. What I need is to be nurtured and to process my pain and my whatever it is and move up back to my adult ego state to get out of that highly emotive state. But if I don't, and I can't click out of it and I can't process it, back to good boundaries, it's not my wife's responsibility to get me out of it. It's not my wife's responsibility because I'm responsible for my feelings. But let's see, I can't snap out of it, and eventually, and sometimes that's happened, I'll say, I just need some time off, or I need to go watch a movie by myself, or watch a TV show, or just debrief, or go on the back porch and pray, or whatever it is. Because I need to get the pain or sadness or whatever out. Now, Elaine might want to come help, but she doesn't have to. She might try to encourage, nurturing parent, and I'll let her, but she doesn't have to. I won't resent her if she doesn't. That's one example. Being aware of it is a big, big deal. It can help you a lot. Let me keep going here. If I go to discounting, I'm going to keep hitting this again. That cross transaction called discounting, where one person completely disregards what the other one is saying. They're not always obvious, but are always unpleasant to the person receiving them. And if they're repeated, can make people quite upset and eventually make them feel crazy. I'm hungry. No, you can't be hungry. You ate a couple hours ago. You just ate. I'm hungry. No, you can't be hungry. So I'm hungry means, it can be from the adult, I have hunger pains in my stomach. But most people say I'm hungry, a lot of times it means by implication, they might say, feed me. But no, you can't be hungry. That's from the critical parent. Instead of, let's get some food for you, baby, it's, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be hungry, you just ate. That's back to the analogy I gave. Or, I'm upset. Well, you shouldn't be upset. My life's a lot worse than yours. That discounting hurts feelings. I was just counseling someone not long ago, and there's a lot of things. She was wrestling with feelings of guilt toward a parental figure who was not a nice person, but he's family, and I said, what's some things that he says to you? We talk about communication. And right away she went to an example, which usually is a good sign because it's the first thing on their mind, of something. She had a really, really hard day, a tough day. And then I called him and I was saying this, and then all he did was say, you think it's bad? I'm on my feet 16 hours a day and I blah, 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 blah. And she said, I know he's right. And I know he's, and she started justifying why that's appropriate. But as soon as she told me what he said, I went, oh, like that even hurt my feelings. Like, give me a break. But I know this in life and psychology. That's called discounting. What she wanted from the parent was, of course, what? What does she want? Comfort. She wanted to be nurtured. She wanted to say, I'm sorry, baby, that's tough. That is a hard day. You want to feed all this time and working hard. But instead, he responded like a critical parent said, you shouldn't be complaining, get over it. Let me tell you about my day. He switched from critical parent down to child in the next breath. Well, you think, I've got it bad. I've got this. He's all angry and stuff with the world. Well, she's in a child state. So now we got two children competing for attention. And that's what happens in relationships all the time. And when two children compete, they're going to escalate. And someone eventually is going to die down and take on the nurturing parent role. Why? Because they feel guilty. Whoever has the most guilt will lose every time. They'll go up, oh, I'm so sorry for you. The conversation started about their needs. Well, they'll switch it and go to the rescuer because they feel guilty. Someone's got to rescue my spouse, my mom, dad, aunt, uncle. And that's what happens when discounting happens. And it hurts people's feelings. And for a lot of people, it's very difficult for them to grasp that discount hurts feelings because they have so many parent messages Well, they are family. Well, I need to put up. Well, he means well. I know she loves me. They have found ways for years to justify the hurt feelings they have from being discounted. And one of my number one tasks in those roles, and maybe it is for you tonight, is to say, it's completely appropriate to have your feelings hurt when you've been discounted. I explained what discounting means. I said, you're not validated. You're not. It's completely appropriate when your feelings are hurt. I mean, it's just appropriate. Because you come from the child state. You're vulnerable. You're open. It's not the child has the hands out like this. They give me a hug, and then you get slapped for it. That would hurt your feelings. That's okay to get your hurt feelings. That's okay. That's okay. Well, discounting hurts. It hurts. And people discount for all kinds of reasons. And if you want to talk about it, we can. Otherwise, we'll just move on. But do you see this in your life? You don't have to share if you don't want to share. But do you see this? Do you receive this? Can you think of examples where you've been discounted? Where you have been condemned for being a child ego state, being in it. Being condemned or criticized for something that you were afraid of something, you were hurt, you were sad, you whatever. I have. I mean, a lot. I've been discounted.
I'm not talking to you anymore because you're not giving me what I...
Yep. Just repeat it for the podcast. Absolutely, it happens in the corporate world all the time. And it seems to me that's that corporate world mentality of, I need help with this. Well, you think you got it bad. My boss, they're breathing down my neck. And it becomes the popular thing to say when you get to leadership. You parrot. That's what parents. This is textbook. You're repeating what you were taught by a parental figure, which was your boss, and you keep it on down. And I love the second thing. Appreciate the second thing you said. You say, well, I won't talk to you more about it, because when we get our feelings hurt, and when we learn it's an empty well from which to draw the water, wise people learn the lesson and say, I won't be vulnerable to you anymore. I won't expose my child to you anymore because it will hurt so much. Here's the key. First off, that's healthy. It's healthy to withdraw that. It's healthy. 2, people who have been hurt in childhood cannot do that well. They keep going back to the critical parent. They keep exposing it themselves. They keep being vulnerable and open and telling them what they need and say, please help me here. Because they're so daggum starving and desperate for it, it's compulsive. It's compulsive. And you'd rather drink nasty, dirty, muddy water than get none at all for a lot of people. And so through healing and therapy, you can work on that and stop having this compulsive desire to go back to the person who will never be the nurturing parent you need or wanted. But people who have not been to trauma, it's easier, and it's hard for them sometimes to grasp. Why do they keep going back? Why do they keep following those lousy guys? Why is every boyfriend the one to take advantage of them? They don't understand because they've been, almost always, I'm telling you, they've been hurt a lot as a child, and they never got mom and daddy's love, and they're still trying to get it, but they're doing it through other people. Yeah, please. That's a great question. How do we stop wanting to get approval from people who have died? If that makes sense. That's right. And the only possible way to do it is to go to counseling and process the loss that you experience. And I say loss because it's the right word. When we are literal children, we deserve to have the approval of parental figures. We deserve it because we were brought into the world. It's what God wants us to have. When we do not have it, we experience a terrible loss, and that is a loss of a childhood we were supposed to experience. It creates a kind of hole of a bank account that never can get really filled up. And when we go through terrible trauma, that account can stay depleted for the rest of our lives to some degree. But God can fill it up. Other healthy people can fill it up. Healthy relationships can fill it up. But people who've been through serious trauma, you have to go through the counseling to work through the grieving process to grieve through the loss you had. Secondly, to allow other people to fill it up. I love how John Townsend and Henry Cloud always say it. We get our nutrients. We get fed our nutrients from new healthy relationships. And most people, I think it's fair to say most, many people do not experience the nutrients they're supposed to get from their family of origin, their family of origin. But they're supposed to get it from their family of God, the fog. And when those nutrients feed into a person, they can heal. And you can let go of the compulsive need to still get approval from that person because their tank gets filled up from other people. You start feeling approved by people you respect and love, and they give it to you. Even if that's only one person, or a support group, or maybe sometimes a whole church, but it depends. So you can do it, but it takes healing and processing and looking at what you lost and then getting filled up. And I could piggyback if I might for a second, because that's a really good, it's a very, very good question. It really is. And the second, my second thing you didn't ask is, it's important for us to remember that for many people who go through a terrible trauma or loss, maybe they've been victimized or someone got murdered and so forth, and go, I want to see that person killed or locked up in jail. As far as I understand the research I've read, but this is a few years ago, most people do not feel the resolution they thought they would once the person's been dead or punished. And that includes even when a person was victimized for bad parenting. Once that mom and dad dies, they're very much a live ghost. They still hear the condemnation. They still hear the whatever. And so death, the separation by death, just does not heal the wound. And that's why I said, again, counseling. But it's insightful. A lot of people think, well, I'll just last them out. And when they finally die, I'll know I'll be better. And that's just, I always say, don't wait. I'd start right now in counseling, because when they die, you're still going to have, if the pain's not healed, you'll still have it. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I do understand. And there's a degree to which when we've been traumatized, I call it like a chronic illness. That is, it's not fully gone, but I can live with it. It's manageable, but it's not
Try to keep things.
You try to, that's right.
Even keel.
That's right.
And stay away from certain situations.
That's right. There's a real good book called Safe People that either Henry Cloud or John Townsend wrote, called Safe People, how to find them, how to stick to them. It's a really good book. Safe People is really good. But we've talked some about this, and so I'm sorry. I want y'all to know that I'm not saying as much now, because I know but I'm so sorry, and you know how very I'm sorry that you've gone through that. And I do understand
But it comes in, it's
Sure. That's right. No, I don't think that's weird in a bad way, but it does, and it gives me too, because of what I've suffered in my life. It gives me a deep empathy for people because I get it. I mean, it's not just book knowledge. I understand the scar. I do get it. And God can help us either heal from it completely or manage the chronic pain from time to time. He can. I'm living evidence that He can do it. That's why I talk all the time, preach from the biblical text about people can encourage, and we open up at least one trusted Christian friend, and we get healing. Those nutrients get fed into us, and we start changing our belief. Well, no one can be trusted. Well, that's not true, because I found so-and-so. Well, they'll all hurt you. Well, that's not true, because now I know 2 or 3, 4, or 6 people at church, and I don't think they're going to hurt me. And so it changes our belief system when we have this family of God that speaks into us. That's the way it's supposed to be, which is one reason why it's so painful when people at church, when you've been trying to build a relationship, if you've been betrayed, I can tell you firsthand, that's why it hurts so much. And it can, nevertheless,
stressful when you.
it is scary to talk about it sometimes. So discounting is not fun. It hurts. And the first step is to realize where you're coming from, what emotional state you're coming from, what child ego state, and process it yourself. Now, again, one little footnote again, back to boundaries. If you find yourself discounted and you resent it hurts your feelings, fine. But if you keep doing it and going back to that empty well or the person who won't be happy, find out why it is you want to go back to the person. I'm going to say that very clearly one more time. Find out why it is you want to go back to the person. My second corollary is, one more time, is to say it's completely appropriate and healthy to want to go to a person and get the needs met, particularly when they're a parent figure, because we deserved to have that. But when they're not our literal parent, as a boss at work or a colleague or a friend, and you keep trying to chase down those people at a church or organization, and they're just, dadgummit, you can't make them happy. It's like, but you try to be funny, you try to do this, you try to do that. If you keep trying, it says something about you, not the person. Maybe they probably are just a punk, but it says something about you that you keep trying to go to a punk to get some encouragement. If they are a critical parent, guess what they're going to do? They're going to be a critical parent. You can go to a tree and you can carve it up all you want. No milk's ever going to come out. But the reason why you feel compelled to try to get milk out of that tree is something about you. And I guarantee you there's some wound, and sometime when you deserve to get that need met from childhood, you didn't get it met, and now you're trying to get it by a person. And you subconsciously are still trying to get attention from mom or dad or aunt or uncle. It's just that now they have a brand new name and they look different. But deep down, you're still trying to get fed by this person. And that's why people time after time find those sorry people to date or marry, because they can fix them, or they can heal them, or they can make them better, they can change that addict, and it comes from usually childhood. So hurt feelings is not bad. Trying to get your needs met's not bad. There's not bad. It becomes unhealthy when you find yourself compulsively trying to get it from a person who won't give it. Do you see the distinction? Okay, so if I said, Vanna, I need some encouragement. Today was so horrible and I'm so sad and scared. And you said, you shouldn't be scared. You should have faith and pray about it. What's wrong with you? That's going to hurt my feelings.
I'm being a meanie.
You'd be a meanie. Well, okay, believe it or not, people at church can be meanies. And so just hypothetically to other churches. But if I were to do that and you were to be mean, like, it would hurt my feelings. But if I go, wait a second, I'm going to try again. Now, Vanna, did you hear me well? A third time, Vanna, and you keep knocking down the balls every time. It says something about you, but when it comes to boundaries, I'm not responsible for that. I'm trying to figure out, why do I keep going to her to try to get her to praise me or encourage me? What's going on in me? What's going on? And that's why I appreciate what you said. Some people can go right away, like the first discount, and go, I'm not going back to that again. Some people don't. Some people go back 83 times or the next 50 years of their life, trying so badly to get what they needed when they were a child. And I'm going to move on real quickly. There's something else you were going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, I always liken it, think of it as watering a dead tree.
Watering a dead tree. That's good. It will not give you fruit. Yeah, when you water dead all you want, it's not going to give you fruit. That's good. So we call that a discount. A covert transaction is when people say one thing and they mean something else. They're the basis of games. Now, games is a technical word, which we'll talk about in a little bit. They're especially interesting because they're crooked. They have a social, an overt, and a psychological covert level. Here's the overt level. Boss, let's work late, Miss Susie, and I'll buy you dinner. Secretary, that's a good idea. There's a lot of work to do. That's what they hear. That's what people in the office would hear if it were bugged. On the covert level, here's what they really are communicating. I love your smile, Natalie. Let's have dinner and drinks and really get to know each other. Secretary, I thought you would never ask Bill. I've wanted to go out with you for quite a while. I said Natalie. I should have said Miss Susie. That's the same person. The idea is that if you're doing these things, these covert transactions, you're speaking on the outside, it looks like it's an appropriate ego state. Let's work late and get this project done. But she knows what you mean, and he knows what she means when she's around. That's good. We got a lot of work to do. For whatever reason, maybe she gives a face or whatever. Overtly, socially speaking, it's an appropriate complementary transaction, adult to adult. Let's stay late and so if you would like to do that. Yes, I would like to do that. What you're really doing is invert this covert levels is you are getting your needs met. Now, the reason why we say one thing and mean another, and this is very important in transaction analysis, what I'm about to say right now, is because his theory, and I think he's right, because we are generally ashamed of our child's wishes and desires. The reason why we say one thing and mean something else is because we're generally ashamed of our child's wishes and desires. It's very common for people to say one thing but mean something else because whatever they say, there's most social acceptance to concur with that. That's more appropriate. They feel better. They won't feel as guilty by saying what it is they really want. And I'll give some examples in a second. Now, nevertheless, we act on these desires while we pretend to be doing otherwise. For instance, we may use smiling sarcasm instead of a direct expression of our anger. Or when scared, we may counterattack instead of admitting our fears. So we do things like that to get attention. On the outside, we mean one thing, on the inside means something else. When we want there's in transaction analysis, there's something called strokes. And a stroke is, because literally, if I pet her, like a dog or a cat, I stroke them, it makes them feel good. If someone pats us on the back, that's a stroke. We use that in psychology for emotions. We stroke a person when we stroke their ego, their psyche. And so if I say, you're so good, Vanna, you are so sweet and kind, you make a killer pizza and killer whatever you brought over our house, lasagna, it's incredible. In TA, we call that I'm stroking you. Okay, I'm giving you strokes. Eric Byrne was convinced, and I'm talking about this later on at the very bottom, page 4, but he was convinced that people are stroke deficient. That if you had a tank savings account or whatever, I like the word tank's going around, and we want to be at 100%. Most people like on depleted empty or 10%, 15. We walk around all the time depleted of strokes. Well, we're depleted of strokes. Our child ego state is either afraid or sad or scared because they haven't got much strokes lately, but they're scared to ask for it because they feel ashamed of their needs. Why is that? Because their critical parent in their mind says you shouldn't need those things. Why do they feel that way? Because they were told that as a child. My daughter walks in and she has a little flower with a weed and she look, Daddy, this is beautiful. I go, that's wonderful. She goes outside and Hayden messes with it, comes back in and it's broken. And she's crying. Daddy, look what Hayden did. And I go, suck it up. Come on, there's plenty of flowers. Go get another flower. I taught her, I would never in a billion years say that because I hate that. But that's exactly what parents do all the time. And it teaches their children that their legitimate, healthy, emotional state of sadness is not appropriate. It's not appropriate. Because when you're sad, you got to deny it, suck it up, and move on to something else. Spilled milk, baby. Life is hard. Life's not fair, is it? We start preaching to them. And they grow up all their lives and learn on the inside it's not appropriate to have these normal feelings. And since no one's going to know I need these strokes because I don't ask for them, so I do it in a surreptitious way. I try to get these needs met because I sure can't bring them out. I can just say, I'm sad and scared. Will you encourage me? Will you give me strokes? Don't say it to the opposite gender. That sounds a little... From now on, when I ask that, I'll make sure there's another person in the room. We want strokes and we act like it doesn't matter. And when we have trouble giving strokes to people when we want to. In fact, because lying is so prevalent between people and by politicians, advertisers, our lives are so immersed in half-truth and deception that we no longer know what it is our child states really want. We also don't expect people to be completely honest, so that we never really know whether we can trust them or not. Transactional analysts encourage people to be straight with one another and with themselves about their wants and feelings rather than crooked and covert. In this manner, people can find out what they want and, if possible, how to get it. I have found this to be, which of course, while I'm teaching it, in my experience, I found this to be very true and helpful, that most people, to say it one more time, do not think that their child's needs and wishes are appropriate. Most of the time. Sometimes they do, but in general they don't. People come to my office and they're just crying about some serious thing that happened. And I go, I'm so sorry. It's okay, it happens. It happens all the time. And I go, it's not okay. That's horrible what you went through. No, I mean, hey, you know what? I learned a lot from it. I'm glad you learned a lot from it, but I'm so sorry you went through it. Yep, my mom and dad always told me to cheer up. I'm glad they told you that, but I'm so sorry for you. Yeah, but I tell you what, otherwise I wouldn't have faith. I'm glad you have faith, but I'm sorry. I mean, they're vomiting all the critical parent stuff they learned, and that's exactly why they're in my office, because they're depressed, addicted, divorced, whatever, because their child state's been hurting all these years and never got attention, never got any strokes, never got any healing.
And they don't know how to accept it when they get it.
And they don't know how to accept it when they get it. That's exactly right. People who've been wounded unhealthy, they filter out the good and they block the good, they filter that out and accept the bad. Healthy people reverse it. So when I go to encourage, I'm so sorry, going, it's no big deal. No, knock it. They're supposed to receive that encouragement and comfort, but they can't accept it because they're so wounded. So for some people, it takes me many sessions. They feel like they don't deserve it. They feel guilty for the need of it. I need to be comforted. I need to heal, but I feel too guilty for that need. And I guarantee, like if I just repeat myself, sorry about if I keep repeating myself on purpose, why do they feel guilty? Because at some point, I guarantee you, they were taught to feel guilty for their needs. Buck up. Get plenty of flowers out there. There's plenty of boys out there. Why are you crying about him? And they were taught it didn't matter. And now it doesn't matter. Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm telling you it doesn't matter. I've met 76-year-old people who are wounded about something from their childhood. Age is irrelevant. Oh, time heals all wounds is a stupid lie from hell. It does not heal all wounds. That is nonsense. Doesn't.
I can't help but ask,
does forgiveness ever help?
Get to where the child ever get to where they forgive?
Very good. Does the child ever get to where they forgive? That's a very good point. Yes.
Because of that.
Very true and very powerful. Forgiveness is very powerful in the healing process.
I mean, if not, I don't mean it to be just an oversimplified, just forgive.
Absolutely right. Not an oversimplified, just forgive it, move on. That's exactly right. And that's exactly what I was going to nuance to say. As long as we understand that for some people the trauma is so bad, and I said this in a sermon on overcoming resentment, is that the wounds can take years from which to heal. But I can decide faster than my healing a lot of times not to want to inflict punishment or for other people to punish them. That's forgiveness.
And the flashbacks.
The flashback is still coming. That's the wound. Yeah, absolutely. Flashback.
You're always going to have that.
You sure, depending on the trauma. Yes, ma'am, that's right.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. The analogy I give all the time, if Chelsea accidentally hit me with a car and I'm limping around, I'm limping, and I go, well, and she goes, I'm so sorry. I go, no, I forgive you. I know you didn't mean to. I don't want you punished. I don't want you to go to jail. I don't want to kill you or have someone who hurt you. That means I forgive you. I don't want you to be punished. And I'm walking around limp. And she goes, you ought to go to the hospital. No, I'm fine. I already forgave her. My leg's all bloody. David, you need to go to the hospital. No, I already forgave her. Did you hear what I said?
You deserve
You would say those are different things.
Yeah.
You still need to go get physical therapy and get it treated because there's a wound. But you can make up your mind not to have her punished. And in forgiveness and therapy, and secular psychologists disagree on the power of forgiveness, whether or not to bring it up. I disagree with them. I'm a Christian. I think forgiveness is very powerful. It's just that in my experience with people, I don't go there first. A lot of people feel, and here's why. This is the only reason why. I very much believe in forgiveness. Jesus did, so I do. It's his teaching, and therefore I do it. In a counseling situation, most people, in my experience, at least who are Christians, let me be specific with Christians, they usually have a loud critical parent guilt messages in their head that are religious messages. And it tells the child to shut up, be quiet, move on, you should forgive them anyway. And because of that, they can't heal. They can't hear the comforting grace, I'm sad for you, God, that God says to us. I'm so sorry for your pain. That's what God wants us to hear from him. I'm with you in the pain and sorrow. He's not up there going, you should just forgive. You should do it. Critical parent, critical parent. Yes, it's true we should forgive, but in the healing process, we need to have the freedom to express the anger, the sadness, the loss that you experienced from childhood. You need a nurturing parent. Does that make sense? So what in my experience, what I find very, very effective is that I want to be with them in the child state for as long as I need to be. And then when they're more healed, the grief has come out somewhat, and they're able to go to their adult state a little more, then I say, do you think you're willing to get toward the stage of that forgiveness? And usually they'll say, yeah, I'm more now. But it's typically, like I said, to repeat it, they usually come to my office, I know I should forgive. It's right out of their mouth. And I go, you're right. But first I'll give you a quick story.
We have a lot of work to do.
We have a lot of, yes ma'am. In my view, we have a lot of work to do. There was a guy, I'll say this quickly, I know you had a question. This is to bring the point. Always try to give real world examples. When I taught in South Carolina, I was at church, I was associate pastor, and there was a family that me and Lane, we really enjoy. They have kids, they're so sweet. And he was a baseball coach at the local university and just a good guy, good sense of humor. We just left church on I think a Wednesday night or something. I led a contemporary worship service there as well. And we just finished good practice. We're headed home, and he got a phone call and said that we learned that his sister had been shot on the side of the street, that her and her boyfriend were in the truck, and someone acted like they needed help. They pulled over to help them. They murdered both of them, took the truck, and rode off. And so we turned on a U-turn and went back to their house. So we go back to the house, of course, and now we walk in, and here's this man and his wife, and he's just, we give him hugs, and he's red-faced weeping. He's a guy, man, baseball tough, but he was just, you talk about child state, just weeping and weeping. And I do what I do. We were chatting, listening, but one of the first things he said when he could talk was about what had happened, his pain. He looked at me, and it was tears in his eyes. He goes, and you mean to tell me I have to forgive him? Now, I didn't say that, but that was that message in his mind at the time, right? And because I did not, that's again, I already told you, I don't go there first. And I looked at him and I said, yeah, you do. That's what Christians do. But right now, what you need to do is grieve. And right now, I want to be with you in that. Later on, we can talk about forgiveness. And then we changed the subject and we talked about grief. But that's the kind of thing in life I try to do. I'm sorry, just a quick story.
I was just going to say, I found it easier.
Yes, self-forgiveness can be very tough. And necessary, but it is tough.
Generally, anyway.
Self-forgiveness is especially difficult when the critical parent in our mind is very loud and very forceful. You knew better. Why did you do that? Why did you? That's critical parent. And when that's very loud, it is so hard to receive forgiveness. Nothing but shame. Yes, ma'am. Shame and guilt and oh man, I resent what I did, and the critical parent's loud. The softer that voice is, the easier forgiveness will come. Were you going to say something earlier? I think when you...
I was just thinking, I know it's
Well articulated. Cannot agree more. It's very difficult, just to repeat it. It can be very difficult when generations pass down, particularly that boomer generation, post-World War II. Absolutely. That's the mantra is right. You buck up, you don't complain, you suck it up, you're strong, cowboy up, and that's so daggum unhealthy. It's unhealthy, but you're right. Not only generations do it, and I completely agree, cultures can do it. When I've taught boundary classes with Mexicans in the crowd, back in Houston, tons of Mexicans, and I mean straight up, not just Hispanic, but oh my goodness, well in my culture, or they're Asian, well you're completely responsible for your parents, and what do I do with that? How do I go on with that? Or I mean, it's so you're right, and so we call this systems theory. Systems theory in place is there's whole major macro movements of expectation, not only in generations, but society. If you got both of those together, oh my goodness, it is hard to stop the cycle. But it can be done, but it is more difficult. You're right, it is more difficult. And it's easier to throw in the towel once our child starts to come out and go, I'm scared. What if I can't apply this? What if I don't do it right? So that's a child ego state. And if the critical parent tells you inside, don't do it, you'll never do it. Don't imagine what they're going to fuss at you. Imagine whatever, and the child goes, okay, never mind. They scrunch up again. And you won't change. The child's got to feel some freedom and some safety that I won't do it perfect or whatever. But you're right, it is more difficult. And we need to keep that in mind sometimes with people. Absolutely.
So what do you do?
So if say for example, you're grieving and someone says, I'm so sorry for they're stroking you, but you're saying, what if you need more?
No, I'm saying that.
Are they really sorry if they don't know what your grief is? Well, yeah, I guess that would certainly depend on the person, right? If they don't know at all, then they don't know. It's also not their moral responsibility to make sure your tank is filled up.
No, but they do it anyway just for show.
Some people do say, I'm sorry for show.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Which is being stroked. They use the word brown nosing.
That's okay, sure. Yeah, corporal war like brown nosing. So to say real quickly, I'll let you. So that's right. So people can and do, not always, but they can and do give fake strokes, fake nurturing parent messages in order to assuage their guilt for not saying something. So for example, their child ego says, I feel empathy for him. Or it says, if I don't say something, I'm going to be in trouble. Yeah. Socially in trouble, or literally or legally or morally in trouble, so I better say something. The critical parent says, you better go say something. And you walk up, I'm so sorry. And you leave going, I felt bad by myself. You didn't really mean it. But your child got happy because you did it. You obeyed the rules. You made the interior critical parent voice happy.
Mm-hmm. But what does it do for the person that they just went to talk to?
So what does it do for the person who was just talked to? That's completely up to the person. Because you could receive that and say, thank you so much, give me a hug and kiss on the mouth, and say that was the kindest, sweetest thing. Whether they meant it or not, you can receive it how you want. And it works the other way. I know many people who receive genuine encouragement and genuine praise. I've given it. And they block it like a ninja master because they cannot receive it. They have blocked encouraging messages all of their lives, and they just simply don't have the capacity to receive comfort. They don't mean to. They're just so wounded. They feel so ashamed or vulnerable. They were taught that's not good. So it is up to the person to receive it how they want. People say, well, I'll take that as a compliment. That's actually technically true. You can choose how to take it. You're not nearly as ugly as the last guy. I'll take that as a compliment. You're not that ugly. Well, I'll take that as a compliment. I didn't mean it that way. I don't care what you meant it as. You're not that stupid. I take it as a compliment. Well, I didn't mean it that way. I don't care. I mean, you get to choose. But it is easy sometimes to judge you didn't mean it. But again, we don't know what they meant. But it can happen. If you still need strokes in people and it seems disingenuous, some people do seem if it's sarcastic, hey, sorry about that, and they run off. Well, you can either get your feelings hurt because what you really wanted was good strokes, right? You're a child wanting the nurturing parent to console. You didn't get it. But when that happens right away, and I haven't said this yet, I don't think. Let me say it right now because this is a good point because I don't know if there's like a bullet point for this. Because I get asked this, and this is the common question. Well, David, what if no one is there to give that encouragement? What if there's no one there in the moment? And you are feeling sad, you're coming from work and you're stressed. What do? You do it yourself. You nurture yourself. You activate your own nurturing parent. You say, do you talk to yourself? You know what? Today was a bad day. It was rough. It was emotionally rough. I was fussed at. I was discounted. I did go to my boss and talk about these things. They didn't give a rip. That hurt my feelings. That should have hurt my feelings. And that stinks. And I'm sad. And I feel vulnerable. So you nurture yourself. You address your own pain. Most people don't do that. They criticize themselves. That's much more natural. It doesn't feel natural at all to nurture themselves. That's completely bizarre. It should be very normal and natural for us to nurture ourselves. It was a bad day. I'm sorry. But you know what? It's okay. You're going to make it because I'm going to be here with you. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to go home and cry and journal and read that book or veg out in front of the TV for a second, get our wits about us. Tomorrow's going to be a better day. We're going to make it together. I'm going to be with you. We talk to ourselves that way. And we're not just, as Christians, we're not devoid of, well, that's just nonsense language. If I'm a Christian, then I want to cite scripture verses. God has not left me. The problem, so let me finish. I want to interrupt myself because this is so important. I always add this corollary. So I do want to add scripture verses. Scripture verses are very important. They remind us God's present. He's not left us. That's why in almost every sermon I go, here's some verses I would look up. Here's ones I'd memorize. My corollary nuance footnote is, a lot of Christians use Bible verses to condemn themselves. And that's why I go there last. I don't ever say, well, just quote some Bible verses, because they're already doing that. I know I ought to have faith. I know He's with me. I know He's with me. And I know they know that because that's what they regurgitate to me as soon as they're in pain. David, my dog and my mom and my dad just died, but I know I should have faith. And I go, well, then why are you here? If you got it, they're so sad. Well, I know what to do. I know how to quote my Bible verses. But they're really using it not to console themselves. It's more like a guilt thing. I'm plugging in what mom and daddy always told me or the preacher told me I should do. So I'm cautious when I say quote Bible verses. That's why I did right now on this board, and I pointed and I say first I nurture ourselves, and then we feel some safety to be wounded or sad or have a bad day. That's when we introduce it. But it's just important we don't introduce scripture verses in our mind as condemnation or judgment, but as encouragement. It's hard to do sometimes. Sometimes it's harder than we might think because Christians can have a lot of religious guilt. If God says that with you, and we go, I know He's with me, I know He's with me. Well, wait. If you go, I know He's with me, why say it that way? Why does that make you frustrated to hear that? And I said that in sermons not long ago. People do that. You try to encourage them. I know my Bible. I know my Bible, David. That's for other people. Well, that says nothing about me. It says a lot about them that they block it that hard. That they're don't try to encourage me. It doesn't say anything about, and sometimes we do it internally when we quote Bible verses. Yes, ma'am.
When I use the verse.
That's a great point.
That's not when I use.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
When I first came here, I preached a sermon called Spiritual Altars, and I talked about Abraham and going through it. And I said, they'll beat the desert, the wilderness can beat you if you don't have those times you go, I'm telling you kids, God showed up right there. That's very good. So what you're doing there is you're evoking nurturing parent images of God. He supplied, He took care of you in the past. Yes, ma'am. That's a great example, and thank you for sharing with that. Because I do too. That's not because it's true. But I'm just relating. I'm saying I do the same. Maybe I can't recall a Bible verse, but I can picture God showed up. He rescued. That nurtures me. That comforts me. That encourages me. That's good. Please do. That's good.
I was really touched by what you were saying.
Very good. Thank you.